Our final exam is next week, Tuesday, which is exactly 1 week from today. And the review sheet for final exam is all the review sheet for exam 1, 2, and 3. So this is the review sheet which I combined by combining review sheet 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to post this later on Brightspace. Sorry, my voice is now very broken after having 2 hours class. Can you guys hear me well? Do you guys understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. If you don't understand anything or can't hear me, please stop me and let me know. I'll repeat myself. Just had 2 hours class, so I talked almost for 2 hours, and now my voice, the sound is not coming from my voice.
Professor,
Yeah,
I have to leave my house because I have my other classes later today, and I live in Staten Island, so I need to leave on time. Can I watch the recording?
okay, no problem.
All right, have a good
Make
day.
sure,
Feel better.
make sure you watch the recording, okay?
I will. Have a good day.
Okay. Um, so what I was saying, okay. So, review sheet for 1, 2, and 3, exam 1, 2, and 3 is the review sheet for the final. But here I omitted some questions which I usually don't see in the final exam. So this is the latest version of the review sheet for the final, and I'm going to post this later on Brightspace tonight. And with my morning class, I went over from section 3.6 to 10.7. And my plan is with you to go over chapter 11, 12, and 13. So since we don't have enough time to go over all the materials in our classes, so I'm going to do review in 2 sections, one with my other class and one with you guys. So please watch the recordings for both classes. And our next class will be in person. I'm going to return your exam also on that day. Plus, I posted your grades on Brightspace. So if you haven't seen your grade, you can see it on Brightspace. And also, all the homework and quizzes are closed. That's because if you fail the final exam, there is no point of doing all this homework. So from today onward, your goal should be studying all these questions you see here and prepare yourself for the final. Our final exam will be next week, Tuesday, which is exactly 1 week from today, and it will be 8 a.m. in the morning. Not in our regular classroom, it will be different classroom. I'm going to tell you the location later on Brightspace. So keep an eye on Brightspace for the location and also for this review sheet and also for any announcements. Our next class will be in person, okay? Not online. So with my morning class, I went over these questions. 3.6, we talked about domain of 2 types of functions, and then domain and range from a graph. Then we went about slope of parallel perpendicular lines. and slope of the line parallel or perpendicular to the x-axis. Finding the equation of a line that goes through a point with a given slope. And then we talked about simplifying exponents. We also did this type of question where you distribute the power first and then use exponent rules to simplify. Then we did multiplying radicals with two monomials, two binomials, two conjugates, and also we did rationalizing the denominator. We also solved radical equations. For the radical, once you solve your radical, you must check your answers. We multiplied imaginary numbers. We did rationalizing the denominator with imaginary numbers with one term on the denominator and also two terms on the denominator. And then we did reducing the power of I. To reduce the power of I, if the numbers are even, then you divide by 4. If it's divisible by 4, the answer is 1. If it's not divisible by 4, the answer is -1. And for odd powers, you split into 1 power and even power. And then you do the same thing again. You divide by 4. And that 1 becomes I. And then you multiply with 1 or -1 and the coefficients. So that was the last thing we did with my morning class. Now with you guys, I'm going to start chapter 11. And then let's see if we can finish 12 and 13. So are you guys hearing me well? What I say, did you understand? Okay, thank you. Anytime you don't understand anything, please let me know. Sometimes I can even hear my own voice because it's so coarse and I talk but the sound doesn't come out. So if you if you don't understand anything, just let me know. Okay, Anastasia, no problem. Just watch the recording, whatever you don't see in class. So chapter 11, first thing is solving for x. When you solve for x, there are 3 scenarios. Either it's factorable binomially or probably GCF, or it's AC factorable. And if it's not factorable, then you have to use quadratic formula. So if you do use quadratic formula, that means you have to memorize the quadratic formula correctly. So based on what you have, you use this one of these 3 methods. Now, what comes usually in the final exam is this type of question in the calculator part, where you are going to solve using quadratic formula and then use the calculator to simplify the answer. So let me do D first. In order to solve for x, you must bring everything to one side. So we add 30 to both sides and we get 29x squared plus 61x plus 30 equals 0. And then the quadratic formula. So please memorize the formula correctly. It's negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac whole thing divided by 2a. So you are going to identify your a, b, and c. In here, our a is 29, b is positive 61, and c is 30. So when you substitute, we get negative 61 plus minus 61 square 4 times 29 times 30 under the big radical whole thing divided by 2 times a, which is 29. And then use calculator to find out what is 61 squared and what is 4 times 29 times 30. So usually this type of question have a radical in the answer. And then 2 times 9 is 8, 2 times 2, 15. So you go to the calculator and you put 61 squared minus 4 times 29 times 30. 241. And usually this is multiple choice question. So if you see this in the multiple choice, you are done. If you don't see it, then you have to see whether it's reducible or not. Here, this is not reducible because 61 you cannot divide by anything that is divisible by 51, and 241 is not reducible also. So calculator makes it easier to work with the numbers, but it must show you work. So if you don't show anything and just give me this answer, the answer you're going to get 0 point. You must show the work and then the answer, even though it's in the calculator part, and even though if it's the multiple choice question. Any question on this one? No. So the thing we have here is called discriminant. Now, if you remember, then if discriminant is a positive number, you get 2 real solution. If the discriminant is a negative number, you get 2 imaginary solution, but there is no x-intercept because they're imaginary numbers. X-intercept has to be real. And then if the discriminant is 0, then you get 1 real solution. And then we have a concept, rational or irrational. Irrational means you have a square root. For example, this one has a 2 real irrational solution because we cannot get to the square root. So the number we have inside the square root is not a perfect square number. So irrational means your answer has a square root, and rational means it's just a fraction. It doesn't have any square root. Okay. Square root means irrational. That's the way to remember. So sometimes these type of questions in the multiple choice, they give you a discriminant and ask you which of the following is correct. That's why I give you this table in the exam. For example, if the discriminant is 0, then you get 1 solution that is real and it's rational. Because discriminant means what number you have under the radical. Square root of 0 is 0, so you don't have any radical. So you get a rational number. And since it's real, so x-intercept is real. We have 1 x-intercept. Now let's say we have square root of 16 under the radical. So 16 is reducible, it becomes 4 without any radical. So it's a real number. So we get 2 solutions that are real. And since we get rid of that radical, like there is no radical in the solution, so it is rational. And our x-intercepts are real, 2 of them. But let's say we had 241. Now 241 is not reducible. So you still get 2 because this is a real number. And this is real, but this time you get 2 irrational solution. And since they are real, we have x-intercepts. Now let's see have square root of negative 29. Since you have a negative number under the square root, so now it's not real anymore, it's imaginary. And since it's imaginary, So there is no x-intercept. Only the real numbers can be x-intercept. But we still have two imaginary solutions, and since the radical is not reducible, so it's like it's a perfect square number, so it becomes irrational. So depending on what number you have under the square root, that tells you how many solutions you have. Are they real or not? And are they rational or irrational? And then we have two weird types of quadratic to solve. And here they give you two questions from here. Either they give you 4th degree with 3 terms like these two, or they will give you 4th degree with 2 terms like this. So let me go over both of them. When you have 4th degree with 2 terms, your goal is to rewrite them as difference of perfect squares. Because when you have difference of perfect squares, they are factorable. So we want to rewrite x to the 4 and 81 as something squares. So x to the 4 okay, Mariana, no problem. Whatever you miss, the 15 minutes or 20 minutes, just watch the recording. So x to the 4 is x square. So we rewrite x to the 4 as this. And 81 is in 9 square. So why do you use the square? Because when you have difference of perfect squares, their factors are the sum and difference of their bases. Our first base is x squared, so we add x squared and 9, and then we subtract x squared and 9. Whatever is first, you have to write that first. And then this is more factorable. This is x squared minus 3 squared. So you get x plus 3 and x minus 3. This is not factorable, so you just bring this factor down. And then you solve each one of them separately. You said x squared plus 9 equals 0, x plus 3 equals 0, and x minus 3 equals 0. These are easy. You just subtract 3 and add 3. So you get x equals negative 3 and x equals positive 3. But this is not factorable, so you need to get to the 9. So x squared is negative 9. And then to get the x alone, you do the square root on both sides. Now most of you forget, so try not to forget. Anytime you take the square root of any variable, you have two choices. One is plus, one is minus. So you have to write x equals plus or minus. And now, since we have a negative number inside the radical, so it will turn into I. And then square root of positive 9. Square root of positive 9 is 3. So you get 4 solutions. One is x equals negative 3i, and one is x equals positive 3i, along with the other two solutions, x equals negative 3 and x equals positive 3. So usually in the 4th degree gives you 4 solutions. Not always, but most of the time. So that's why we have what I was saying, I forgot. Okay, fourth degree, most of the time supposed to get fourth solution. So if you don't get fourth solution, check your work carefully. Did you miss anything? So this is one scenario, fourth degree with 2 terms. Now the second scenario is fourth degree with 3 terms. So let me do that here. Let's say uh, a x to the 4 minus 5x squared minus 36 equals 0. So as long as you have 4 and 2 degree, so one of the degree is half of the other degree, then we can use factoring method if it's factorable. So we see two numbers that multiply to 36, and when you combine them, it becomes the middle term. It's 9 and 5. 9 and 4. 9 times 4 is 36, and 9 minus 4 is 5. The middle sign always has to go to the bigger factor. So 9 has to be minus. And if 9 is minus, our 4 has to be plus, so that we can get negative 5. So once you get to 2 factor, you decide your variable. You split the x to the 4 into 2 pieces evenly. So each piece gets x squared. So you have x squared minus 9 and x squared plus 4. If you want, you can factor x squared minus 9 more, but you don't have to. We said each factor equals to 0. So x squared minus 9 0, x squared plus 4 0. Give me 1 second, let me drink some water. Okay, so you solve for x. So you add 9 to both sides and subtract 4 from both sides. See, my voice is not producing sound again. We get y equals 9 and x squared equals negative 4. And we do the same thing. In order to get the x alone, you take the square root on both sides. As a result, both of them get a plus minus sign on the right side. So x equals plus minus, and square root of 9 is 3. So from here we get to solution. X equals negative 3 and positive 3. In here we get x equals, because we have a negative sign, so we get I, and then square root of 4 is 2. So this becomes square root of 2 and square root of negative 1. Sorry, square root of 4 and square root of negative 1. So square root of 4 is 2, square root of negative 1 is I. So that's how we get plus minus 2i. So we get two more solutions. One is negative 2i and one is positive 2i. So we get a total of 4 solutions because we have 40 degree. So 40 degree with 2 terms and 40 degree with 3 terms, the both will be factorable. You just have to know how to factor. And then you set each factor equals to 0, solve for x by taking the square root And don't forget about your plus minus sign. So in the multiple choice, they will trick you. They'll give you many different choices. And you have to be careful to pick the correct one. So show your work first and then pick the correct choice. Another question comes from this section is a fraction. So for fraction, you have two choices. If you don't like fraction, then get rid of the denominator. And if you don't have any problem with the fraction, then keep your denominator. So if you don't like the denominator, first you look for the LCD. LCD between the denominator x and x squared is the highest power, which is x squared. And then you multiply each term by that degree, by that x squared. So we have 5 over x squared plus 3 over x equals 2. So if you want to get rid of the denominator, get rid of denominator method. If you want to get rid of the denominator, then you multiply every numerator by the LCD. Why? Because you can easily cancel the denominator. X squared cancel out. X goes to x squared x time. So there is no more denominator. You have 5 plus 3x equals 2x squared. And since we have two x terms, so we need to bring everything to one side because we are going to use factoring method or quadratic formula. So we're going to subtract 5 and subtract 3x on both sides. So we get 0 on one side and we have 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 on the other side. And then you have three choices. You can use quadratic formula, which is negative b plus minus b squared minus 4ac whole thing over 2a. Or if it's factorable, it should be AC factorable. So you're going to use AC factor. And the third choice is weird, W-E-I-R-D, weird AC method. So whatever is easier for you, use one of these three. Now I'm going to use weird AC method. In weird AC method, I multiply A and C and then leave out the A. So we get x squared minus 3x minus 10. And then you factor two numbers, multiply to negative 10, combine to negative 3, which is negative 5 and positive 2. Once you factor, then you divide each one of them by the A, because we left out the A before, so now we are going to divide by A. So you get your two factors. One is x minus 5 over 2, and this one becomes x plus 1. So x plus 1 equals 2. You add the 5 to both sides and you subtract 1. So x is 5 half is one solution and x equals negative 1 is another solution. So this is weird AC method because it's not normal. In normal AC method, we do factoring by grouping. Any questions so far? Another question comes from this section is solving triangle. In some semester they give you triangle type A. Some semester they give you triangle type B. So let me do triangle type B because it requires more work. So we have a triangle. One side is 2x plus 1, other side is x plus 2, and then 3. Anytime you have a right triangle, remember the longest side is C. And the other two sides, one of them is A and one of them is B. So let's say this is A and this is B. So anytime you say right triangle, you always should remember the formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Will it just be this type of triangle question? Yes, one of these two. So one of them is like this. I already have only one variable on one side and numbers on the other side. Or there will be two variables on two sides and only one number on the other side. But only these two type of, only one of these two type you'll have in the exam, not both. So our A is 2x plus 2. We put it inside the parentheses. Our B is 3. We put it inside the parentheses. And our C is 2x plus 1. We put it inside the parentheses. Now just because you see a power, it doesn't mean it's distributable. In addition or subtraction, you cannot distribute the power. You have to use FOIL. So you get x plus 2 times x plus 2 plus 9. And this one is 2x plus 1 times 2x plus 1. So all of these are foiling methods, not our distribution method. And when you FOIL from here, you're supposed to get x squared plus 4x plus 4. Then we have 9. And from here, after FOILing, you're supposed to get 4x squared plus 4x plus 1. And then you bring everything to one side. So when you add these two, you get 13. Since 4 is bigger, so let's keep the right side and subtract the left side. So minus x squared minus 4x minus 4x minus 13 minus 13. So all of this cancel out. You get 0 equals 3x squared. The 4x also cancel out. And 1 minus 13 is minus 12. So you get 3x squared minus 12. And then you solve for x. These are divisible by 3. So you divide by 3. So you get 0 equals x squared minus 4. Okay, Mariana, no problem. To solve for x, either you factor or you use, thank you, Mariana, or you use the square root and add 4 to both sides. So you get x squared equals 4. Negative the square root. You get x equals plus minus 2. Now for triangle, it's a real life scenario. So you have to check your work. You have to check your work for a few cases. For example, anytime you are solving radical equation, you must check your work. Anytime you are solving log equation, you must check your work. Anytime you are solving triangle equation, you have to check your work. And then if you have a rational something over something, check your work. These are the 4 times you should check your work always. So here, one side of the triangle is 2x plus 1. The other side is x plus 2. You have to check if it makes sense or not to have both solutions. For example, point x is negative 2. We get negative 2 plus 2, 0. It doesn't make sense. This triangle doesn't have a 0 length. It has more than 0. So obviously x equals negative 2 doesn't make sense here. So the only answer that makes sense is x equals positive 2. Any question? Now for A, it's same but less work. So we have C is 10. So our triangle is this 10, 5, and 3x. So C is 10. Let's say this is A and this is B. So we get A square plus B square equals C square. So A has 2 terms. So it's 3 square x square. You have to square both of them. Our B is 5, so 5 square. C is 10, so 10 square. So we get 9x square plus 25 is 100. And then you solve for x. When you solve for x, you subtract 25. So you get 9xy is 75. You divide by 9. And then you reduce. Both of these are divisible by 3. So never mind, don't reduce. Because if you reduce, then you have to rationalize. So leave it alone. So we get x squared is 75 over 9. And then you have to take the square root. You have to take the square root individually on numerator and denominator. This and this cancel out. You get x equals to square root of 9 is 3. But square root of 75 is reducible. So you have to reduce. Square root of 75 is square root of 25 and square root of 3. Because 75 is 25 times 3. And we know 25 is 5. And square root of 3 we don't know. So this is the answer you get. Which is not a whole number, but it's acceptable. Oh, and then plus minus. We didn't have to put plus minus because if you put minus, this one doesn't make sense. The length of a triangle cannot be 0 or cannot be minus. So you don't need to put plus minus. And then sometimes in the calculator part, they give this question where you do working together. So if A and B can paint a room together in 4 hours. And then if A paint alone, it takes 2 hours. It takes 2 hours less than B can. Then how long will it take for B to paint the room alone? So for working together, you have to remember one formula. 1 over time for person 1 plus 1 over time for person 2. And then if you have other people, then you add time for everyone and you set it equals to 1 over time for together. time for working together. This is the formula you have to remember. You add the fraction of individual time they need, and you set that equals to 1 over the time we need if they all work together. So let's say time for the first person is x. So it's 1 over x. And then it says the second person takes 2 hours less than the first person. Means x minus 2. If first person takes x hours, then the second person is 2 hours less, so x minus 2. And we need the fraction of their time. Not the whole number time, the fraction of the time, the reciprocal of the time. And we have only 2 people to work together, A and B. So 1 over x, and then 1 over x minus 2. And it tells us if they work together, then it takes 4 hours for them to finish. So together, they need only 4 hours. So 1 over 4. And then you solve for x. So it's a rational problem, this thing. For rational problem, you have to check its denominator. Why? Because we don't want the denominator to be 0. So the first denominator x cannot be 0. So if you have a 0 in a solution, it cannot accept that. The second denominator x minus 2, this also cannot be 0. So if you get x equals to 2 as your solution, you have to disregard that. So these are the 2 solutions it cannot accept. Besides these 2, if you have any other answers, you're fine with that. Now, since you don't like fraction, so we can get rid of the fraction by doing the same thing what we did before. We're going to multiply every numerator by the LCD. So LCD of the denominator x minus 2, and 4. All 3 things are different from one another. One of them is not a multiple of the other one. So that's why the LCD is all 3 of them. 4x, x minus 2. So you are going to multiply all the numerator by that. 4x, x minus 2. 4x, x minus 2. 4x, x minus 2. Why did we multiply? Because our goal is to cancel the denominators. The first denominator cancel, second denominator cancel, and the third denominator cancel. All the denominator cancel out, and then we rewrite whatever is left after the cancellation. Here we have 4 and x minus 2. Here we left with 4x. And here we left with x and x minus 2. So now we have no more denominators. It becomes simple algebraic without denominator equation. So you bring everything to one side to solve for x. The first thing you do is distribution. Here we distribute, here we distribute. So we get 4x minus 8 plus 4x. And here we get x squared minus 2x. We can combine these two and we get 8x. So we get 8x minus 8 equals x squared minus 2x. Since we have so many x terms, so we need to subtract the 8x from both sides and add the 8 so that we can bring everything to one side. We get x squared minus 10x plus 8. Did I make a mistake anywhere? It get painted around 2 hours last time. Then began. So x minus 2. And then together it takes 4 hours. x minus 2 and 4. X cancel out, we get 4x minus 8. X minus 2 cancel out, we get 4x. 4x and 4x is 8x minus 2. Sorry, 8x minus 8. Then you have x squared minus 2x. So x squared minus 10x and then plus 8. So it looks like it's not factorable. Since it's not factorable, oh, that's why it's calculator problem. Because it's not factorable. Since it is not factorable, so you do negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So we get negative 10 plus minus negative 10 squared. So our a is 1, b is negative 10, and c is 8. So b squared minus 4 times 1 times c, whole thing divided by 2 times 1. So we get 10 plus minus square root of 100 minus 32. 4 times 8 is 32 divided by 2. And then you go to the calculator and do your math. 100 minus 32 is 68. It is the square root of 68. So you get 10 plus minus 8.25. 8.25 over 2. So you do 10 plus 8.25 over 2 and 10 minus 8.25 over 2. Most likely one of these will be only in the solution. So you look for the correct one in your multiple choice. Whatever that will be your X. Any question? Okay, the next one is the inequality. So sometimes they give normal inequality like this, or sometimes they give fraction. But recently they started giving the normal one, not the fraction one. So I'm going to skip the fraction one and do either A or B. Let's do A first. We have x squared minus 3x, and you have to bring everything to one side, so subtract 10 from both sides. So basically we have a parabola, and they're asking to find the part of the parabola that is positive. Positive means it's lying above the x-axis. So we have a parabola, and you're looking for all the x values that are giving the positive part of the parabola. So what these x values, these two intervals are. We have the positive part here for the parabola, which x gives the positive part. So basically we need to find the x-intercept. So to find the x-intercept, we set the y0. So x squared minus 3x minus 10, 0. And then we solve for x. Two numbers multiply to negative 10 and combine to negative 3 is negative 5, positive 2. So x minus 5, 0 is x equals 5. And x plus 2, 0 is x equals negative 2. That means this number here is negative 2. And this number here is 5. So the interval we are looking for is this one and this one. In this interval, the smallest number is negative infinity, and here the biggest number is positive infinity. So our solution is negative infinity to -2. And since our inequality doesn't have any equal sign, so both of the end will get parentheses. So from here to here inside one parenthesis, and from here to here on the right side, 5 to infinity is inside another set of parentheses. And this is our solution. Which x values gives the positive part of the y? Means the part that is lying above the x-axis. P is same thing. We have x squared minus 3x, and you need to subtract 18, so minus 18 less than or equal 0. Now in here, they're asking for less than or equal 0. So equal 0 means it will be bracket for numbers, and less than 0 means you're looking for negative parabola. Negative parabola means the part that is lying below the x-axis. So you have a parabola, and it's an upward parabola because our xy is positive. So they're looking for which x values gives you the negative portion of the parabola. That means we are going to do the same thing again. We need to know what these x-intercepts are. So to find this x-intercept, we are going to set our y to be 0 and then factor. Two numbers multiply to -8, 10 and combine to -3. Can you guess the two numbers? Which two numbers multiply to -18 and combine to -3? Good job, George. -6 and +3. So -6 and +3. So we set x minus 60 and x plus 30. So we get x equals 6 and x equals -3. So this number here is -3 and this number here is 6. So we are looking for the numbers which the x values which are giving the portion of the parabola below the x-axis is all the numbers from -3, 6, and since you have equal sign, so this time all the numbers they'll get a bracket. So basically they are saying when x is -3, our y is 0. When x is between -3 to 6, our y is negative. This is what negative means. And when x is 6, our y is 0. So all the numbers which gives all the x values which gives negative y values for this parabola, or 0 value for parabola, is from -3 to +6. So in your exam, you are going to draw this parabola and mark the way I did which portion you are looking for, and then give the solution. So find the x-intercept, draw your parabola, mark it, and then write down your solution, and then also pick the correct multiple choice from the multiple choices. In the final exam, let me write it here. The final exam, which is next week, Tuesday, our final exam will be 8 a.m. in the morning. Next Tuesday, And if you're 20 minutes late, you cannot take the final. That's the departmental policy. 20 minutes or more late means you cannot take the final. It has 30 questions. That's why if you're late 20 minutes, there's no way you can finish it. So you're going to fail the exam anyway. So it has 30 questions. In these 30 questions, there are 24 multiple choice and 6 non-multiple choice. In this 24, there will be, from here, there will be 8 calculator part and 22 non-calculator part. In this calculator part, there will be 6 multiple choice, and then that means 2 non-multiple choice. So you have 4 non-multiple choice here. Okay, Raim, no problem. But make sure to watch the recording for all the information. So it's 2 hours times. From 8 to 9:30, you're going to do part 1, which is non-calculator part. And from 9:30 to 10, you're going to do part 2 with your calculator part. And this final exam will be next week, Tuesday, exactly 1 week from today. But even though it's a multiple choice, you must show the detailed work and then pick the correct multiple choice. If you pick correct multiple choice without correct work, it's 0. So you really have to show your correct work and then pick the correct multiple choice. Okay. Now in 11.5 and 6, sometimes they give you, oh, before I do this, let me tell you what most of the time final exam has. So I went over this question with with these numbers with my morning class. So if you watch the morning recording, you can see in details. So this is the combined review sheet of exam 1, 2, and 3. In this combined review sheet, I marked here which question most of the time comes and which question sometimes comes. So let me tell you that also. From the first question, one of them sometimes come. From the domain, one of them always come. And then from graphing question, finding the domain and range sometimes comes. Find the slope of 2 points sometimes comes. The line means sometimes and the star means always. So finding slope, x-intercept, y-intercept graph, these sometimes come. However, finding the slope of the parallel line and perpendicular line almost all the time comes. And then parallel or perpendicular to the x-axis or y-axis, this type of question most of the time comes. Finding the equation of the line from a slope and point almost all the time comes. Finding the equation of the parallel line or equation of the perpendicular line sometimes comes. From a given graph, find the x or find the y sometimes comes. This one. transformation from absolute value or square root or cubic function sometimes comes. So if they give you cubic function, this is the type they ask. Simplify the exponent, always come. Simplify with exponential rules, almost always come. Then multiplying radicals, either monomial times monomials or binomial times binomial. So either this or one of these multiplication always come. Simplifying the radical, rationalizing the denominator. Either this rationalizing the denominator or rationalize the denominator with one of them. So when we have either the or this type always come. Solving radical equation always come. Multiplying or multiplying the radical, one of these always come. Rationalizing the denominator, either this denominator or this denominator, the one of them always come. Reduce the power of sometimes come. Solve for x using quadratic formula or factoring or AC method, one of these always come. And then this graph, the table, they give one scenario and ask for the rest, sometimes come. For a fourth degree, always come. Either fourth degree with 2 terms or fourth degree with 3 terms. One of the scenario always come. Also, this type, you are solving fraction, always come. Solving one triangle, almost always come. Finding working together issue, sometimes come. Solving inequality, either no fraction or with fraction, always come. And then finding vertex, x-intercept, y-intercept, all of these sometimes come. And then from transformation, graph using transformation, either they'll give you the equation, you're going to find the graph, or they're going to give you the graph, you're going to find the equation. And then domain and range. So this type of question sometimes come, not always. From the application, one of these 4 scenario always come. So one of the scenario you'll definitely see. One of the scenario you'll see. Question 6 and 7, I'm not sure, so I have to check and then I can tell. Finding composition, always come. Finding inverse, always come. And then graph for exponential or logarithmic, one of them will come. And they will ask something like this. Probably they will give you a graph and the option, you're going to pick one of them. Or they will give you multiple graphs and one equation, you're going to pick the correct one. Solving inequality, one of them always comes. Now, these are calculator questions. So one of them definitely will come. And then what problems? For what problems? There are money issues and there are bacteria issues. So one money, one bacteria always come. Bacterial population, whatever. So for money, there are several scenarios. For example, probably they may ask you for the principal everything else is given, the principal money is missing, so you're solving for principal, or everything else is given, the time is missing, so you're solving for time, or everything else is given and the final amount is missing, so you're going to solve for the final amount, or everything else is given and your interest rate is missing, so you're going to find interest rate. So one of these will be given. So one of the variable is missing, and whatever is missing, you're solving for that. And then you have population problem. So one of the population comes from transformation, either log or exponential. One of the graph will be asked in the question. And then expand, always they ask for expanding log. But single log, they ask sometimes, not always. But solving logarithmic equation. So either you have to solve logarithmic equation or you have to solve exponential equation. One of them always comes. For logarithmic equation, don't forget to check your work. So in the last exam, you got x equals -9 and x equals -3, and most of you did not check and said these are the answers. So if you said these are the answers, I marked it wrong because this is wrong. You didn't check your work. If you had checked your work, then you would have seen that x equals -9 is invalid. It makes the log 0 or negative, so we cannot accept that. And then change of base always come. You're solving ln equation always come. For a domain, find the center and radius always come. Sometimes they ask for domain and range. The tangent equation, sometimes they ask the distance, sometimes they ask. And one question from chapter 13 almost always come. So these are all the combination of exam 1, 2, 3 review sheet. So all you have to do is study all these questions and you'll be fine, even though you don't have time. So that's why I stopped the homework, because the last 1 week you really need to concentrate on the review sheet. If you fail the final exam, you're failing the class, regardless of how much you did in the homework quiz and what you got in the in-class exams. So you have to pass the final exam with at least 50. If you get even 49, you fail the final. As a result, you fail the class. So you have to get at least 50 in the final exam. If you get at least 50, then the class average has to be 60 or above. Which practice final exams I study? I didn't see the practice finals, but whatever you see similar to these questions, study that. So all of these are actually final exam questions. They ask in the final exam in some points. So this is the collection of all old final exam questions. So as long as you know how to do all of these, you are ready. And they will ask 30 of them. So let's continue. From here, the real life application comes. And sometimes they ask in the calculator part, sometimes they ask in the non-calculator part. So here the numbers are big, so it's a calculator part. So let's do this. Or actually, never mind. Here we have height of the ball is negative 16t squared plus 350t plus 400. So t is time and our y value is the height. So x is the t, which is time, and y is the height. Now in the first one, they're asking at what time the ball reaches maximum height. Anytime you see the word maximum, minimum, maximum or minimum means you're looking for vertex. If it's a quadratic equation means the highest degree is 2. When you have highest degree 2 and they're asking you to find maximum or minimum or something, means you're looking for the vertex. The vertex has two parts. One is the x value and one is the y value. So for x, the vertex, we have a formula, negative b over 2a. But the y value doesn't have a formula. So once you get the x value from this formula, you substitute into the function to get the y value. So this x is actually t. This equation doesn't have x, this equation has t. So t is the x value of the vertex. To find the x value, our b is 350 and our a is negative 16. So negative 350 over 2 times negative 16. You go to the calculator and find out how much is this. First of all, negative and negative cancel out. So you get 350 divided by 32. So you go to the calculator and do 350 divided by 32. You get 10.94. 10.94. So this is your time. This is your A. T equals 10.94 seconds. Now B is asking for what is the maximum height. Means the y value. Your y value is the height of the ball. So to find the y value, you substitute this into here and you get the y value. So negative 16, 10.94 squared plus 350, 10.94 plus 400. If you want to get accurate result, then you shouldn't round. It's 10.9375. So you should write 10.9375 square and 10.9375 to get the accurate result. Or the best thing to do is actually this. Just use the fraction. 350 over 32, 350 over 32. Then you don't have to round. You get the exact result, what we have. So you go to the calculator and punch this. So 16 negative, the parentheses, 350 by 32, close the parentheses, square. Oh, I forgot to put multiplication. My bad. So 16 negative times and then 350 divided by 32, close the parentheses, square, plus 350 times 350 divided by 32, and then lastly add 400. So 2314.06. 2314.06. Probably fit. This is the answer for B. So you substitute into the function and then using calculator get the answer. So you have to show your work for this one that you substituted. What did you substitute for your x or for your t? So this is B. C is asking when the ball will reach 50 feet. This 50 feet is the height. So you said negative 16t squared plus 350t plus 400. This is height and this 50 is also height. So you subtract 50 from both sides and you get negative 16t squared plus 350t plus 350 equals 0. And now you're solving for t, which is x. So t equals x equals, and you go to the calculator and you use negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac whole thing over 2a. So you substitute a with negative 16, b with 350, and c with 350. Since t is a real number, so you're going to accept only the positive solution. So you have a plus and a minus. Whatever you see the positive solution, you are going to get only the positive solution and disregard the negative solution. D is asking when the ball hits the ground. When the ball hits the ground, our height of the ball is 0. So you are basically doing negative 16t squared plus 350t plus 400 equals 0. And then you are solving for t. To solve for t, you do the same thing. Negative b plus minus b squared minus 4ac whole thing divided by 2a. So here your a is negative 16, b is 350, and your c is 400. You substitute, and since again you are solving for time, so you only accept the positive result and you disregard the negative result. Any questions so far? Okay, the next one is composition. There will be one composition. So here they're asking for to find f of g of negative 1. So if g of x is x minus 3, you have to start with the inner function. So this is actually exam 3 materials. So basically I'm going over exam 3. So g of negative 1, you are going to find 1 minus 3, which is negative 2. Now, this thing means f of negative 2 because we just found g of negative 1 is negative 2. So you go to the f function. Our f of x is x squared minus 2x plus 3. And you are finding f of negative 2 means negative 2 squared with the parentheses minus 2 times negative 2 plus 3. So you get 4 plus 4 plus 3. So 8 plus 3 is 11. Our answer is 11. So if you see this, it means g of f of 2. So you start from f of 2, whatever you get, you replace into the g. And that's how we do composite function. Any question on the composite function? Then we have inverse function. So they ask one of this type of inverse function. Let me do 11. So step 1 for the inverse function is replace f of x with y. So y equals 2x minus 2 over x plus 6. Oh, good news. If usually they ask for a number, okay? Instead of the inverse function itself. Not usually, sorry, sometimes. Sometimes they ask for, like, if you see this hard type, then the number will be given. So if the number is given, your life is easy. If they're asking to find f inverse of, so remember, if f of x is y, then f inverse of y is x. So just switch the position. The y value for the original function is the x value for the inverse, and the x value for the original function, oops, the x value for the original function, so the x value for the original function is the y value for the inverse. So here they gave us f inverse of 4 is what? So if you compare that with the original function, this 4 is actually the x value. No, this 4 is actually the y value for original f of x. So they gave you the y value here. The x value for the inverse is the y value for the original function. So you get 2x minus 2 over x plus 6 with the 4. And then you solve algebraically. You get rid of the denominator. So you get 4x plus 24 equals 2x minus 2. Subtract 2x and you subtract 24. So you get 2x equals negative 26. That gives you x equals negative 13. So this is the shortcut, the easiest one. Now, if you don't understand anything about the shortcut, then you have to do the long one. In the long one, you're going to find the inverse function first, and then you're going to substitute that inverse function's x with 4. So step 1, you replace f of x with y. Y equals 2x minus 2 over x plus 6. And then you swap x and y. So x, y, y. X equals 2y minus 2 and y plus 6. And you do the same thing. You get rid of the denominator. So you need to multiply both sides by the denominator. And then you distribute. You get xy plus 6x equals 2y minus 2. You want y's together. So you subtract 2y from both sides. And you don't want the 6x. So they cancel out. So you have xy minus 2y equals to minus 2 minus 6x. Now y is a common factor here. So you take out y as a common factor. And you get x minus 2 equals negative 2 minus 6x. Lastly, to solve for y, you divide by that and you get y. So y or f inverse of x is negative 2 minus 6x divided by x minus 2. And now you're substituting this x with 4. So negative 2 minus 6 times 4. And then you have 4 minus 2. Because you're looking for what is F inverse at 4. So we get negative 2 minus 24 divided by 2. We get negative 26 of 2, which is negative 13. The same number. One is long method and one is short method. Whichever you can remember correctly, use that method. Any question? Okay, then transformation. We have different types of transformation. Let me do the y equals negative 2, x plus 1 minus 3. The exponential graph is this, so it has a horizontal asymptote, and horizontal asymptote has a y equals to some number. That number comes from here. So in this equation, we have a horizontal asymptote y equals negative 3. Is negative in the form its reflection of our x-axis. This minus 3 means you are going down 3, and you have a plus 1 next to the x, means opposite direction, left, right. So plus should be on the right side, but it goes on the left side. So the original 2 to the x is this. First you are reflecting. So this positive 1 turns into negative 1. This is your reflection. First you reflect, and then this reflect, you are moving left 1. So from this point, you are going left 1 here. And then from the reflection, you are going down 3. So down 1, down 2, down 3 here. And you are drawing the same graph but a reflection version. So what do we have? This is negative 1, this is negative 2, this is negative 3, and this is negative 4. We have an asymptote at negative 3, means there is a wall at negative 3. So you draw your wall. So your graph cannot cross this wall, and it stays either above or below. Here it says below the wall. Any question? Negative x, it means it's reflection about y-axis. So let's also do C. C says y equals 2 to the negative x plus 3. Now when you have a negative f of x, it's a reflection about x-axis. But if you have f of negative x, means x is negative itself, then it's a reflection of our y-axis. So the normal graph is an increasing graph, goes to 1, and you are reflecting about y-axis. So this is your y-axis. If you reflect about y-axis, the right side of the y goes on the left side of the y. The left side of the y goes on the right side of the y. So it's a reflection that is going down. So it's a decreasing reflection. And now you are shifting this reflection 1 unit up, 2 unit up, 3 unit up. So this y-intercept now goes here. And you are drawing your graph here. And then you look at your wall. your wall is this number, y equals 3. So this is y equals 1, this is y equals 2, this is y equals 3. So you draw your wall here. So this green graph is what they're looking for. 2 to the negative x plus 3. The red graph is 2 to the negative x. And the black one is the original one, 2 to the positive x. And if you forget about this, no problem. Remember, if we have x to the negative 1, it becomes fraction 1 over x. So 2 to the negative x becomes 1 over 2 to the x. That means you have a base that is fraction. If your base is a fraction between 0 and 1, then the graph should be a decreasing graph. That's the rule. If your b is more than 1, then it's an increasing graph. But if your b is between 0 and 1, which is a fraction, then your graph is a decreasing graph. B to the x. Okay, then solving exponential equation. So we have 4 scenarios. All these 4 scenarios are here. Sorry, these are 3 scenarios. So in one scenario, we have the same base. If you have the same base, you just cancel and then work with the powers. In the second scenario, the bigger base can be rewritten in the smaller base. For example, B and C. So in C, we have 3 to the 2x minus 3, and this 27 can be rewritten as 3 cube x minus 2. And then if you have two powers together, you multiply them. So when you multiply them, you get 3x minus 6 equals 2x minus 3, and you cancel the bases. And then use algebra to solve. So this is scenario 1, these are scenario 2, and the last scenario is both bases have no relation. So one is not a power of the other one. So in that case, you reduce both of them. So 8 is 2 cube and 4 is 2 square. You reduce both of them so that at the end you can cancel them. So you multiply these powers, and since you're the same base, you cancel them. So you get 12x minus 3 equals 8x minus 8, and you solve for x algebraically. Solving this type of equations. So we have 7x minus 2 equals 3. Since these two bases are completely different from one another, so in order to solve, you need to call ln. So ln comes as a result, the power comes down. So you get x minus 2 ln of 7 equals ln of 3, and then you solve for x. To solve for x, first you divide by ln of 7, so that cancel out, and then you add 2 to both sides, so that cancel out. That means you have to learn how to use your calculator to find this. This is a very sensitive, so you have to use the parentheses. I noticed in the second exam that most of you, even though you got this correct, but when you plugged in, you get something completely different. So the answer was wrong. So make sure you know how to use your calculator well. This is same. And for the next type, we have exponent term plus something extra. So when you have a whole number, you need to bring them together first, and then you do equal ln. So let me do D. We have 3 e to the x plus 4 equals 5.6. So we need to bring them together. So subtract 4, subtract 4. We get 3 e to the x equals 1.6. And now we have a 3 problem. So we need to get rid of the 3. Once you get rid of the 3, we get e to the x equals 1.6 over 3. And now e needs ln to get rid of that. So we call ln to both sides. E and ln cancel out. And we get x equals to ln of 1.6 divided by 3. Whatever that is. Oh, and one thing I noticed that you don't need places. So before the decimal, this is 1, this is 10, this is 100, and this is 1000. However, after the decimal, there is no 1, okay? So this position is 10th, this position is 100th, and this position is 1000th. So in your exam, most of you got the position wrong. You have to remember this position because in the final exam, they ask which number you have in the 10th position, which number you have in the 100th position. So they ask position wise. So if you don't know your position, that means you're going to get the answer wrong. That's all for today because we don't have time. In our next class, we are going to go over more questions from previous finals. So all of these are previous final questions. And we are going to go over half with my morning class and half with you. So have a good day, everyone. Do you have any question before you leave? Any question from anyone? No? Okay then. Have a good day, everyone. So next class we are going to have in person, and please make sure to study the review sheet very well. And I'm going to post this one. This is just a combination of exam 1, 2, and 3. So study well. Thank you, everyone. Okay, thank you. Bye. Bye, George, Andrew, Shireen, Chloe, and everyone.